What did you think about school?
School was crazy for me. It was very up and down. I had A's and F's. Constantly being told that I had all this potential, that I wasn't applying myself. Looking back, what captured my attention were things that were interesting to me, and often what made it interesting was the teacher. And so there are topics, for example, like history, that I find fascinating, endlessly fascinating. I love history, but if it was delivered by a really boring teacher in my high school in Texas, very often important subjects are taught by coaches.
Then you wouldn't do it.
It was just tedium. It was just boring, and I would drift. I would daydream and not participate. And sometimes the classwork was just so, what I perceived to be moronic, that I would just not do it. And so my F's came from zeros and not, a couple of missed questions.
So you weren't an underachiever, you were a selective consumer.
Yeah, I mean, I relate to that, I guess, and I'm not recommending that as a good way to do things, but that's how, looking back, that's, and everyone has an idea of what that is. That's what's really interesting, and part of my frustration is that everyone, who is aligned to assist children, they only see what they want to see, and I always felt like they never saw me. They saw, someone who's really lazy, or they saw somebody who...
Because you were so smart. Look at what you did in this other place, and so why aren't you doing it here? Why don't you... part of life is doing all that boring stuff. Everybody has to do it.
I hear that. And
you got to learn someday, Chris,
I guess I feel like it doesn't apply to me. I always felt like that wasn't going to be a solution for me, that I felt like my time or my interests were really driving me rather than fear of compliance. And it became okay. I mean, after a while, I used to really beat myself up over getting an F in something. And then it just became, if you want to do that, you can do that. It got to the point where I didn't really care what other people thought.